Hello there. It's been quite a while since I did one of these. There's no individual reason why that is. There's been a hell of a lot going on outside of buying stuff to do with games. And I could probably do close to an hour long video just on that, to be honest. So I'm not going to do that. There's just going to be like one little update on things that are going on. And then I'm going to be going through about 3 months worth of pickups. So I'm going to rattle through them as quick as I can. But the big update, I've mentioned many times in these videos about various struggles I've had with my mental health. And for the first time in 5 years, I am now not in any form of therapy. I've got no restrictions on what I'm able to do at work, and I'm completely unmedicated. So it's a big positive. I'm technically classed as almost normal, I think. Big downside at the moment, as you're fully aware, UK has been bloody hot lately, and one of the medications that I was on for a long time stopped me sweating, which did give me the nickname of Prince Andrew. And this is the first time in years that I've been sweating at all, and it's really uncomfortable, and I don't know how people cope with it. Anyway, aside from that, hope you're all doing well, and sorry it's been over 3 months since I last did one of these, so I'm just going to dive straight in with my pickups. So it's such a huge part at the moment. I'm going to start off with the VHSs, because why not? You know I'm always going to save Mega Drive stuff till last, so we'll leave it at that. First one I picked up, this was picked up middle of March. I like old BBC comedies, hell of a lot. One of my favourites is Blackadder, which I have on various different DVDs. It can be streamed on anything, but when I saw this box set of the first 4 series, obviously I don't have the specials because this came out before any of the specials, but all of them just in one nice box set, I thought, I want that, so I got it. So that's the first pickup. Yeah, Blackadder, probably my favourite comedy of all time, so not much more I can say to that. I've got a small pile of VHSs as well as that. The first one is a film that I've never heard of, never watched it, but I bought it purely because it looked so shockingly awful, and I like bad movies. So this has the tagline, "She'll go from riches to rags to find the one and only." And it's basically a rom-com about someone leaving her footballer husband to go for someone else despite being pregnant with his child. So as well as it sounding an awful movie, it sounds like an awful plot with the characters being awful people. So that's going to be an interesting watch, but we'll give it a go. This one, I thought VHS had kind of died a death before this came out, but I've managed to get myself a rental copy of Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. I remember watching this on DVD years ago, and there was a little introduction from Arnold Schwarzenegger before the movie, and both me and my my now ex-wife both had the same memory of, at the end of it, him going, "Enjoy some Wolfie." Never happened, but we both independently remembered him being, "Enjoy some Wolfie." So no idea where that came from, but it's interesting to have an ex-rental of a movie that I didn't think would have been on video. I picked up a Rhubarb and Custard video purely because, again, it's an old cartoon. Old cartoons are fun and far better than crap my kids watch on Netflix. Next, I've got a movie that I've been aware of, never watched it, but I'm hoping it's going to be good. If you've watched it, please let me know if it's worth watching or whether I'm wasting my time. And that is The Ruttles, All You Need Is Cash, which I think has some of Monty Python in it and a few other people, and is based on the Beatles. I'm hoping it's going to be like a Beatles-style Spinal Tap type thing, but again, I know very little about it. So let me know what you think. And this one, I remember watching when I was about 15 or 16. I think my mum rented it. It was probably the first time I ever saw anything to do with lesbianism in a film. And that is Heavenly Creatures. I remember it being a really good film. Not for any teenage boy perviness, but a really good storyline. And it's also a fairly early Peter Jackson film, I think. And it's an incredibly early Kate Winslet film. So I'm really looking forward to giving that another watch, 25 years after I last watched it, because do you remember things better than they were from when you were younger or not? So we'll see. I've got a couple of miscellaneous bits that aren't necessarily directly to do with games, but I've picked them up, so I'm going to show them to you anyway. Sticking on films, I'm not a big fan of buying steelbooks for the sake of steelbooks, because I'm not that much of a film buff, although I enjoy watching films. But I do enjoy my Korean and Japanese movies, and I absolutely love Battle Royale. And I found a Battle Royale 2 steelbook that looks absolutely gorgeous, and there's so much stuff in here. Is there so much stuff? No, I've misremembered this. But included in there, obviously, you've got the 3-disc DVD, you've got the flyer, and then you've also got a film cell from the movie as well, which is a special edition collector's film card, number 122. So that's just a nice little thing to have to go with my various Oriental movies. This next thing, it's not a game at all, but it is related to a game. And it was literally, I was struggling to sleep one night, and I got an email from Zavvi saying, we've got our payday deals going on. So I thought I'd have a look. Found something I wanted to get for one of my kids, but it was on buy one get one free, so I thought I'd have a look. And I've got myself the soundtrack to Battletoads on vinyl. It's green vinyl as well, so it's just a nice extra bit of artwork to go somewhere once I get things sorted out in here. I've not got my record player set up at the moment, so I've not given that a second look really, but again, it's just a nice little bit of gaming memorabilia to have. And while I was grabbing all of this stuff, I found something that I bought back in December that I forgot to actually do in a video at all. And it's going along with the Battletoads and kind of rare as in the studio memorabilia. And it's this set of 6 rare pins. So we've got Banjo-Kazooie, Battletoads, Viva Pinata, Blast Core, Perfect Dark, completely forgot the name of that game for a minute, and Conker. I love Conker, pretty much just for Bad Fur Day, but he makes me laugh. So I've got those as well to go with my random gaming memorabilia. Let's go down the route of Xbox now, I think. This was one of the first pickups I got after the last video was made. I was in Sheringham, and their charity shops aren't all that, to be honest, but I did manage to get myself The Wolf Among Us on Xbox 360, and that was literally about £2, I think. I might even have the receipt still. Give me a second. It wasn't £2, it was £4, but I like Telltale games, and I didn't even know this had a physical release, so that's another good one to have in the collection. An original Xbox game. I'm not going to say the obvious joke with this, but you know I like getting games based on movies and movies based on games. So I've now got Fight Club, which advertises on the back that it's got real-time body damage that affects gameplay. So there's shocking visuals of bones breaking, realistic depiction of facial deformation and bruising. I'm not a big one on fighting games, but if it can deliver on half of what it reckons it can do as far as that's concerned, that's going to look pretty damn cool. And again, I can't remember where I got this from, because I can't remember where I've got each individual thing from at the moment. But I've got a Game Buster, which is compatible with all PlayStations, which has got over 6,000 cheat codes preloaded for the latest and greatest games. So again, it's one of those things I'm never going to use, but I just like, I'm a collector. Most of the people who watch this are collectors. We like to have things for the sake of having things. So that's there. And carrying on from Fight Club with a game based on a movie, I picked up for myself The Lost World on PlayStation as well, which is stalk, track and fight in an expansive 3D environment where only natural selection is the only law. Control 5 different characters including the T-Rex. So I like dinosaurs, I like pirates, I like monkeys. This ticks one of those boxes. I love dinosaurs, particularly stuff to do with Jurassic Park, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the new Jurassic World, even though everything I've read about it says it's bloody awful. Plus it's got Scarlett Johansson in it, so there's always going to be a positive as far as that's concerned. Let's go PS2 now. Now, I know that 4 of these came from a charity shop, 2 of them came from the recycling centre, so I paid either 50p or £1 for each of these. So we've got Sonic Mega Collection, which, other than the Monkey Island games, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, probably my favourite game of all time. I've probably got about 30 different ways that I can play it, so let's make it 31. Then, I may already have this one, but if I do, it can just be traded in somewhere to help me get something that I really want, and that is Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. I've not played any of the Pirates of the Caribbean games apart from the Lego one, which was probably one of the most boring Lego games I've played. But again, it's based around pirates, so there should be a certain element of fun to it. Then we've got Disney Pixar Cars. So 30 races and mini games, multiplayer mode, 10 playable characters. Pretty much just a standard racing game, but with characters. Ooh, sorry about that. Characters from a film in it. So let's move on. And then we've got the official game, the WRC FIA World Rally Championships. Yeah, it's a racing game. Racing games aren't my thing, but I like adding things to my collection. Then these two, I had never heard of either of these before I saw them in the recycling centre, but they were available for £1 each, so they're all good. So we've got Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII, which again, I do like Final Fantasy. I've only ever completed one of them, and I enjoy them up to a point, because the ones I've played, you get to a point and then there's like a really slow, drawn out desert sequence or area, and I just lose interest. I was absolutely loving Final Fantasy 16 last year, possibly longer ago than that, and it was really enjoyable. And when I played the demo, it was like, this is like the most stunning game ever. And then I just got up to a part where I was in the desert, and I thought, I can't be bothered. I keep saying I'm going to kind of play it again and get on with it, but at the moment I've not been playing many games lately. And when I do, I tend to be playing Balatro, and I've ordered myself some Balatro playing cards as well. But it's just one of those games that's so simple to play, but difficult to get any form of mastery on. And it's also very easy to go, do you know what, I'm going to have one more go at this. And in your head, one more go means you're going to play for 10 minutes. Whereas each go, it's like 45 minutes or so. And then the next thing you know, it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you're at work in a few hours. So, yeah, I've got a wee problem. I may have bought it on my phone as well. So, yeah, I need to play something different. Sorry, the other one that I picked up at the same time was Valkyrie Profile 2 Silmeria. which, again, it's a PS2 Square Enix game, so there should be some quality to it somewhere. So it's going to be in the backlog. The backlog's probably knocking on to 700 or 800 games as things stand. So I'll get to it when I get to it. Before I go on to my main things at the moment, which are UMDs and Mega Drive, I've got two more little things to show you. I went to the Norwich Gaming Market, was that early April, I think? And then went to the Gaming Festival in May or early June. Doesn't really matter when I went. And on one of the stalls, just hidden away in a box underneath the table, they had a load of big box games, and I found something that's been on my kind of gaming bucket list, as it were, to have for a long time, and that is Monkey Island 2 LeChuck's Revenge on this is for Amiga, because I don't think it got an Atari release, but again, I just want, again, I've got so many different ways I can play this game, but I wanted to have an old big box. There's a little bit of damage on one of the corners there, and it's missing the anti-piracy wheel, but it's easy enough to find one of them online for an alright price at times. So that's just a little bit more on the back burner in terms of when I'm finally going to get around to getting it. And then this one is from a charity shop the other day while I was waiting for Last Level to open in Norwich, and I've not seen this before. It's not something I'm ever going to play, but I like big boxes, and that is Sim Life, the Genetic Playground. But when I got home, I opened it up, and this has not been played at all. Like, the discs have still got the cardboard thing holding them together. Then you've got like it's called the lab book with all of the data sheets for creating different life forms and stuff. Then obviously you've got your manual and also random advertising things about learning to play the piano in 3 weeks with Miracle. So it's another big box, and if I'm not careful, I'm eventually going to go into a deep dive and start on big box. But I'm trying to resist going down that route at the moment, mainly for space purposes, because I don't have the space for half of what I've got now, but I don't want to get rid of anything. So let's go on to PSP. I've got two PSP games that I've picked up. That is Daxter, obviously spin-off from Jak and Daxter. I like the first Jak and Daxter. I've not played much of 2 and 3, but as I'm getting more and more into doing stuff on the PSP, that's going to go in the list that will probably get played relatively soon. And I think I've mentioned before how much I love playing Worms. It's very difficult for me to turn down playing Worms with anyone. Another similar thing in terms of the art style, although this is more of a modern art style for it, is Lemmings. So I've got the window open, so I'm getting weird reflections. So yeah, so that's another game off the list. So as you know, actually, before I go into the UMDs and the Mega Drive, I've got a couple of peripherals to show you as well. I went to the recycling centre the other day, and they will either have things that are obscure but at really good prices, or the more common stuff that they overprice. So you're talking like paying 30 quid for a Nintendo Wii, but then you'll get I got my Atari from there for 40 quid. So they know that there's some value in some gaming things, but they seem to value the ones they've heard of at a higher price, even though they're not worth as much. But I saw, you can tell by the way I leant over, this is a little bit of a big box. I found myself an adrenaline wheel for the original Xbox in its box. I haven't tested it at all yet, so I've got no idea if it works, how well it works, or anything like that. But to get a box peripheral that's easily over 20 years old for £5, I can't say no. So when you can't say no to that for £5, you can't say no to a second one for £5 either. So I'm hoping at least one of these works. But either way, I now have 2 more big boxes that I'm not going to fit anywhere. But talking of things I'm not going to fit anywhere, this was a couple of months ago. You can see the top of it there. Had you noticed that before, or had you not noticed it, just thinking it was part of the overly garish backdrop I've got today? And that is, oh god, it's heavy now. I'm trying to do it on a video. I've got a Logic 3 dance mat, which it's like, I don't know whether you can see, it's proper hard metal dance mat, and it's bloody heavy. And I saw it there and thought, oh, that's awfully big. That'd be nice to get somewhere in the collection. Wonder how much that is. And it was only £10. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the cable for it, and from the little bits of looking up I've done on it, it's got a fairly unique cable, and to get the cable alone would be around £50. So I'm not getting that anytime soon. So at the moment, it's just an attractive display piece until I work out what I'm doing with it going forwards. Give me just a moment. Sorry about that, I just had to bolt for a moment. So, going on to the UMDs. I've got a stack here that I picked up recently, and one of my friends, Bada Bingster, has been sending me photos regularly of different shops he's been going into, and he's got a stack of a similar size for me to pick up from him next time I see him. As you know, I buy UMDs mainly of movies that I've not seen, and a lot of the ones I pick up are ones that when they came out I probably wouldn't have seen, because I would have thought I'm not going to enjoy them, whereas now I'm just watching because I want to watch something different and want to experience more different things. So I'll rattle through these. If there's any in particular that you think are really good, please drop a comment down below and I'll bump them up my list to get watched. So the first one we've got is Black Hawk Down, which is based in Somalia, October 1993, with Josh Hartnett, Ewan McGregor, Tom Sizemore, Eric Bana, and a few other people in it. Again, military-based movies haven't really been my thing. I love like the first half of Full Metal Jacket, like when they're in the training scenario. I don't like it as much when they're actually in Vietnam, but maybe I'm missing out on something by not watching war movies. So let me know. This is one I remember seeing a lot of hype around at the time when it came out. I've never seen it, and that is Training Day with Denzel Washington in it. Again, I've got no idea what it's about, but I'm interested to find out. I'm actually keeping a list this year of every movie that I've watched that I've not seen before, so that I can see kind of how many more different things I've experienced. Unfortunately, a lot of the ones I've watched haven't been brilliant, but at the same time, a lot of the ones that I haven't watched, that haven't been brilliant, I've known before I started that they weren't going to be brilliant, but I wanted to see what happened in them. I also will sometimes just pick a genre out the top of my head and then just Google the best of this genre on Netflix, just see one that catches my eye. I watched one recently called Spiderhead on Netflix. It's got a really good premise. First hour or so is really good, but then when like the true motives of things are unveiled, it loses steam really quickly. But it was also really good to see Chris Hemsworth in a different kind of role than those he usually plays. And of the last month or two, that's probably my favourite film that I've seen. So give Spiderhead a go on Netflix and let me know what you think. I've got another war movie here, which I'm sure someone will be surprised that I've not seen it. It's Platoon, which, who's in that? Charlie Sheen's in it. See, I know it's probably not the done thing these days, but I quite like Charlie Sheen. I like him in most things. But I think most things I've seen him in have been comedy based, so maybe something serious won't be as good. We'll see. I seem to be alternating between War and Denzel Washington, because I've now got Man on Fire. Let's see, burned out CIA operative, given up on life, friend gives him a job as a bodyguard. That sounds pretty decent, actually. So that's probably jumping up the call. I've literally read the word "call" on the next one, and got my words mixed up. That's going to jump up the list, I think. I love horror movies, so I've got When a Stranger Calls, which it's a babysitter based one. They're usually quite fun, so that's that. All right. I don't tend to criticise particular actors and stuff, but one that I do ask a simple question of is, does Jason Statham play the same character in every movie? I only really have seen trailers of him, and he seems to be just fairly supposed to be kind of innocuous man who then has a dark past, and then something happens which makes his dark past come out, so he has to take revenge on people. Is that basically what happens in The Transporter? I don't know, but it's not going to be top of the list because I don't really like Jason Statham in movies, but I suppose he's a necessary evil when you're watching movies you haven't watched before. Then we've got Once Upon a Time in Mexico, which is Robert Rodriguez, and the synopsis doesn't really tell you much about it from the back of the box, but I can see from here that as well as like Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, Johnny Depp, we've also got like Willem Dafoe's in it, Danny Trejo's in it, looks like Mickey Rourke as well, so it's like proper all-star cast, so that could be an interesting one. This one is a movie that my ex-mother-in-law, it's her absolute favourite movie of all time. I think we've recorded it on the Skybox at various points over the years, easily a good 10 times, because it keeps getting deleted. But that's the Ipcress File, which I think is a bit of a spy thriller with Michael Caine in it. So maybe I'll finally get around to watching that. Now, I know this one came from CEX and was only about £1, and the thing that made me very curious about it was, although it's stealth, which I doubt is a particularly good movie, it comes with PSP gameplay of Wipeout Pure with an exclusive stealth track on it. So it's interesting to have like a movie tie-in that's an extra bit on a game, but isn't like DLC or anything. I appreciate DLC wasn't a thing back then, but just the fact that there was an extra level created to link in with a film to then put it onto the PSP, so that's pretty fun. This one, I was cleaning out the car and I found this underneath the passenger seat. I don't remember ever buying it, so I don't know where it's come from, but I've got a sealed copy of 24 Redemption. I remember my early 20s, 24 was absolutely massive, but it's not a show that I've ever watched, and I've never really had any interest in watching it, so that's going to stay sealed, I think. This one that I wanted to watch really badly when it first came out, I've still not got round to watching it, but I mean, It's just over an hour and a half long, which is, in my eyes, the ideal length for a movie. So I think at some point very soon I'm going to be watching Be Kind Rewind. Jack Black's always pretty funny in anything, so why not? Then, I don't remember buying this. Does anyone know what Hackers is about? Other than Angelina Jolie pouting at the camera? Who knows? I was in my early 30s before I got as far as watching any Rocky movie. So I know I got this one from the gaming market. So I've picked up Rocky 2. And I've also picked up Rocky Balboa. They are basically just boxing movies, aren't they? Kind of underdog fighting sport movies. Whoa. So let's move on. I went into Last Level probably about a month ago, and I pretty much emptied out all of the UMDs they had. But I know that they have a storage unit away from the shop, so I just said, look, have you got any UMDs at all? And he said he'd have a look and see what he could find. And then I saw him at the gaming festival about a week later, and he said, oh, there's more UMDs coming into the shop. I've not had them in there for ages because they don't really sell, but since you came in, I've had 3 or 4 more people in the last couple of days ask if I've got any more UMDs. And when they've been putting them out, they've been posting them on their Instagram, and so I asked if they would put this one aside for me. It's one that, again, I've been aware of it since I was a teenager, and it's always been on the list of movies to watch, but I've never watched it. So got them to put this one aside for me. That is The Crow. I think there's a retelling of it that came out earlier this year, isn't there, that was basically panned because it wasn't this. So we'll see how that one goes. And isn't that the one that Brandon Lee died while filming as well? So we'll see how that goes. We've got Underworld Evolution. I've not even seen the first Underworld. Is that the first sequel or are there multiple sequels? Then this one was one of the cheaper ones I've picked up, and I bought it A because I've not watched it, and B because even at his worst, Robin Williams is bloody good. So we've got RV, Runaway Vacation. So it looks like a pretty cheap and crappy comedy from the time period, but Robin Williams should elevate it. And then the last one I've got is yet another one that I've definitely not seen, and we'll end as we started with another war movie. So we've got Behind Enemy Lines, which, well, we've got Owen Wilson and Gene Hackman in it. So let's see how that goes. That's the UMD pickups for the last few months, and I appreciate you hanging around for as long as you have, if you've lasted this long, because this is one of my longest videos ever, but it is 3 months worth of pickups. So we're on to the Mega Drive. I've picked these up from a mixture of Last Level, eBay, gaming markets, and I don't remember which ones I've got from where, other than a few of the movie ones, because there is going to be an update with the movies as well, although I've just realised I've left my list of what movies I've still got to get on the other side of the room, so you're going to see me walk away and come back in a beautifully choreographed fashion. So in no particular order, we've got Real Monsters. Again, I've mentioned so many times in these videos that I have a massive weakness for cartoon-based platformers, and I remember the first time I went to GameSmart just outside Birmingham, I bought one of the James Bond games, and the guy in there was trying to persuade me to get this game. So that's going to be an interesting one to give a quick go to. What's next? We've got Chuck Rock 2, Son of Chuck Rock. I enjoyed the first one so much when I was younger. Now when I play it, I can't get past the first level. Have I got that much worse at games, or have games just become easier and I'm not used to the challenge? Or is it just because when I was younger I'd have maybe 1 or 2 games, so I would just keep repeating and repeating and repeating until I learned the patterns to then be able to do it properly. Whereas now, if I struggle with it, I get frustrated and start a different game. And with this many games, it's easy to find another game to play. What have we got here? We've got this one and the one after it. This was at the gaming festival. I was looking through stuff, and the bloke on the stall asked me if I was someone else. I can't remember the name he gave me, and I said to him, "Well, no, that's not me. Although if it was, does that mean I get a discount?" And he laughed and he said, "Nah, if you were him, you'd be getting charged double," which I thought was a bit mean. Then when it came to actually giving me my price, he'd snuck 10 quid onto the price. Obviously I didn't pay the extra 10 quid, but bloody cheap, trying to add 10 quid because I look like someone you don't like. So I now have Arcade Classics, which it's got Centipede, Missile Command and Pong on it, which I've got those games on many other things, but I love Mega Drive. And if it's a Mega Drive game I don't have, there's always going to be a consideration to getting it. And from the same stall, has this one got a manual? Yeah, it has got a manual. I've got Mortal Kombat, which I don't think I've ever actually played it. No, I really don't think I have. I mean, I'm looking at the character selection, and it is just looking like pictures that I've seen online over the years, rather than it kind of evoking any memories. So there's that one. One thing that I've avoided since I started getting deeper into Mega Drive is going on places like Limited Run or Super Rare Games to get myself any of the modern games. But between me and some of my friends, there's always a lot of running jokes about different simulator games. So my favourite is Power Wash Simulator. Absolutely love that game. But I know so many people who are massively into Farming Simulator. So when I saw that there was a limited run being done of Farming Simulator for the Mega Drive, I didn't really feel I had much choice but to get it. But it's still sealed, but I'm going to unseal it right now. Ooh, look, unsealing a game! Because the edition that I went for, it's tough plastic. I think this came from Super Rare Games rather than Limited Run, actually. I got myself lighting's awful today. The green cartridge edition. I thought it was supposed to be a translucent green, but solid green's alright. Oh my god, there's also a digital download code in it as well. That's pretty cool. And you can access the soundtrack through it as well. So that's my first modern Mega Drive game ever. And now I've opened it, I may as well play it. Going along with some of my less gaming based pickups recently as well, I picked up Battletoads for myself. I think I've played this on Rare Replay before and not got particularly far, but I'm also aware that it's a bloody challenging game, so just like all of these, I need to get around to playing them at some point, but at the same time I need to actually invest the time in doing it properly rather than just dipping in for half an hour or so. The other day I went into Norwich, went into the last level, and there weren't any Mega Drive games that I was desperate to get, but I wanted to get something. So I got one that's been sitting there for ages that I've always been thinking, well, I've got this much, so if I get this game, I can get that game as well, and then I end up getting a more expensive one, so I can't get it within the budget. But I've got Dino Dini's Soccer, which I showed some of my friends on Discord this, and Retro Gamer Thomas from the Unofficial Control podcast said that it was like he was one of the Dino Dean. He was one of the developers for another football game. Can't remember which one it is. And then he went off and made his own football game, which I don't know whether it's any good. I've not played any football game actually for a couple of years. Definitely haven't played one from the 90s for quite some time, so we'll see how that compares to my memories of FIFA from back in the day. Another sports game, and this one is basketball, which is Arch Rivals, which no fouls, so you can. The whole idea of the game is to break the rules of basketball. So that sounds similar to Red Card on the PS2, which I know I had at some point. I don't remember playing it, but I like the idea of different ones where you break different rules. Then this one is a game I remember playing so much on my uncle's Atari, possibly one of his first PCs, and that's Paperboy, which, if you're my age and you've not played Paperboy, what the hell were you doing as a child? The thing that I'm curious about with this one though, and hopefully someone can answer it, it says in the back corner that it's part of a pack and not to be sold separately. What pack would this have been included in? Because I can't think of any Mega Drive pack-ins that would have had a non-Sega game with it. So if you know what kind of bundle this came as part of, please let me know. I've got into playing on what game? What's the name of the game? It's a pinball game on PlayStation where you buy different tables. Pinball FX, possibly. And I'm really keen on the Back to the Future table. I know before I've shared Kiss Pinball that I bought, and I decided to take the punt and go for Crew Ball, so a Motley Crue based pinball game. And just looking on the back, that table looks bloody cool with the various layers on it. So once I finish doing my being competitive on PlayStation, which I need to get off Balatro to do, I can then start sorting myself out with playing some more different pinball games. And the final pickup before I get onto the movie Mega Drive games, which is the highlight at the moment, I got myself Micro Machines Military, which I think until about 2 months ago I hadn't heard of this, and then I kept getting outbid on eBay in the last second on a regular basis, and it was really pissing me off. And then I found it in last level, so I picked it up as soon as I saw it. Again, not played it yet, although like, looking over there, I've got my main telly on the wall, I've got a PS3 and an Xbox linked up to it. I'm thinking I might take the PS3 out and link up Mega Drive, or even just link up my emulator, which is down there, and play that on the main telly in here. But so many different ideas of what I can do with the space. I just need to work out which one I'm going to do. But now we go on to the movies, and the first one I picked up. Has this one got manual? Yes, it's got a manual. This was an eBay pickup, and that is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, which it looks like it's better crafted than the other Power Rangers game on the Mega Drive, but it also looks like it's got, as well as like beat 'em up elements, it looks like it might also have almost Streets of Rage style elements to it, which I like the idea of if I'm accurate. There's also, as a more modern game, in the style of Shredder's Revenge, there's a Power Rangers one called Rita's Revenge. That is really, really fun. I've played that mainly with these 3 or 4 players. Just some of the boss fights on it like there's parts of boss fights where you've got the boss coming at you, and you've got to like time your button presses and stuff, but they seem to be working at a rate double yours, so you'll be doing your button presses perfectly to go and while you're going they come back and go boom, and then you miss out, so it takes far too long to get through those boss fights. But that's another movie knocked off the list. I think early April I was in last level, and the guy in there knows that I collect Mega Drive, and he said that he, like the day before, he'd had a massive amount of Mega Drive stuff traded in. It hadn't hit the shelf yet because he wanted to go through it to see what he needed for his collection. And I said, right, I appreciate that. I'm happy to wait to have a look and potentially buy. Do you mind if I just see what's in there so I can see what I need to put aside money-wise for if it hits the shelf? So he let me have a look, and there were these two massive crates, and there were a couple that caught my eye, and I mentioned that they caught my eye, and he got his phone out to check the photos of his collection and sold them to me straight away. So I have Hook, which is a Robin Williams film, so obviously it's a good film. I remember having one toy to do with that movie actually, but looks like kind of a platformer with a little bit of sword action, so quite cartoony as well, so it fits in with what I like. And the other one that I picked up at the same time is the first film I remember having on a VHS that was my VHS, and that is Ghostbusters, which is one of the best comedies ever made in my eyes. Not as good as The Jerk, but one of the best comedies there is. But the biggest hitter of this video, which you've hung around for 45 minutes, you can hang around for another minute to see the biggest hitter of this video. I think this is the most I've spent on a single game ever now. It's beaten what I spent on Demolition Man. It's supposed to be a pretty awful game, and it's also a pretty awful film, but I am now the proud owner of Robocop 3, and they even put it in a hard plastic box protector. So that brings me to another, so that's what, 4 movie-based Mega Drive games, which, give me one moment. Which means I now only have 5 Mega Drive movie games to go until I've completed that subset. And the ones that I've got left on the list are The Addams Family, The Addams Family Values, Cliffhanger, although whenever I say Cliffhanger I think I've got it, but I think it's because I've got so many different ones that are based on Stallone movies. Definitely don't have Cliffhanger. Terminator 2 Judgment Day, not the arcade one, but just the general Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and True Lies, which was one of many movie highlights when I watched it last year. But that's it. That's all the movies I need to get all of the movie games for the Mega Drive, or at least on PAL. There are quite a few others that were not PAL. So I think that's somewhere close to 60 pickups we've gone through in just under an hour. Congratulations if you've lasted this long into the video, and thank you, and hopefully it won't be 3 months before the next one. Goodbye.